Yes, we are. How's it going, Chase?
Doing good. I was actually doing a little bit of online coaching before I joined the stream. That's why I was a little bit late.
Okay, we have to talk about online coaching. We should have an online coaching episode. I don't think we ever did that. Like how it actually works. I think people are confused about it for the most part.
I think so
Chase, can
too.
you angle your camera so we can see your beautiful shoulders instead of your head? There we go.
Yeah, sure.
Sick.
Here's my shoulders.
Okay. So we got a good bit some stuff that I wanted to talk about today. We have to talk about seminar stuff. What happened last seminar? The Phoebe happenings, the coaching happenings there. Did anybody die? Did anybody get shot? Etc. Anybody get COVID? We have a bunch of form checks to catch up on. I had a bunch of people on my roster want to add in like fun random shit to their lifting. I'm like, oh, I think I should do some random jumpy ball stone shit. So I want to talk about how to add that stuff in. Um, what else? Did you see the new SS coaching directory, Chase?
A little bit. Like I kind of glanced through it. Really, to be honest, I haven't really been keeping up with it. I kind of just been in my little niche with the OKC stuff.
Okay, yeah, we gotta talk OKC stuff too. Normally Chase and I will talk for like 10, 15 minutes before the show. Chase just hopped on.
Hmm.
So how are you, Chase? How's your past 2 weeks been?
Doing good. So funny thing, I forgot to tell you about the seminar. So we don't have that many people signed up, right? I think going into it, was like 22, 23. So Rip
Mm-hmm.
calls me and Josh up. He's like, hey, man, one of y'all has to stay home. So Josh, being at the further distance, he's like, all right, yeah, man, just you go ahead and pop
Isn't
over there.
Josh in
So
Texas still?
Friday, he's in Houston, but Texas is massive. So
That's
Houston
crazy.
Houston's about 6 hours, a little over,
Jesus Christ.
maybe 5.5. Yeah. And
Okay.
I'm 2 hours away.
Okay.
Exactly 2 hours away. And so I roll in Friday. I come in early just to see everyone and kind of train. And he calls me up and he's like, hey, you at the gym? I'm like, yeah. He goes, well, we may not need you the rest of the week. I'm like, what? So apparently a lot of people's flights have been delayed or just like they would not come in until Saturday, missing the first part
Mm-hmm.
of the lectures on Friday.
Yeah.
So he's like, look, you're going to do your coaching lecture on Friday and then we may just cut you loose. But we have some auditors there that we're trying to get to do a full seminar. I'm like, all right, cool, whatever. So Friday night, do my lecture. And then afterwards is whenever we usually allow people who are wanting to opt in, they come in and they sign up. They see Nick in the back.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, the three auditors that were there were just like, yeah, I don't want to like do a full thing. And I'm like, fuck, man, like all my hopes were riding on y'all. So I ended up actually coming back
Mm,
Friday night. I'm like, fuck. But
nice.
what was real
Okay.
fucked up is like I saw pictures of the auditors that
Yeah.
were originally saying no power cleaning on Sunday. I'm like, you bastards.
They changed their mind. Those sons of bitches. How's it going,
Exactly.
Teo? Hey, boys and girls. Boys and girls. I think we probably had historically maybe one girl watch this show, and I think she commented on our how to. We did an episode a while ago, Chase, if you remember. It was like it was like training tips for females, training tips for women, and it ended up just being
Yeah.
Chase and I from a male coach's perspective, talking about like how to coach women, objections for women in training space from a male perspective. And she left a comment. And she was like, "This was not a tip about how to train as a woman at all. You should change the title." And it was very mean. That was our one female viewer. Past that, we've had no females. But yeah, so I remember the seminar that I went to in February. Oh, Teo, he said he made a visit to the SS Barbell Logic Gym in Guadalajara, Mexico. Chase, do you know about this?
I know the coach Harry Fafutas, and he's a good guy. He actually did the transcription of the English version of the Blue Book to the Spanish.
Oh, no
Yeah,
shit.
and I've
Okay, all
met
right,
Harry. I've known
cool.
Harry a long time. He's a good guy.
Nice. Yeah, how is the trip there? Is that far for you, Teo, or what? I'm not sure. Have you been to Mexico at all before, Chase?
Fuck no.
Fuck no. Yeah, smart choice, man. Smart choice. If I went there, they wouldn't let me back in. I feel
Well,
like
same
if
here.
I was
I'd
trying to
probably
come
get
back
like
across the
abducted
border.
by like some cartel and be like, yeah, this white boy.
Who's gonna abduct you, dude?
Well, like I've heard like horror stories. Like the whiter you are, it's like, oh, the richer you are in their eyes.
Uh, Right. And then for you, they're going to be like, he's the wealthiest.
We got a fucking whale over here.
He's the largest, wealthiest white person we've ever
Yes.
seen in our life. All right, we're just going to start ripping through these form checks while we're shooting the shit. I'm going to start sharing these bad boys. We got a good bit in the backlog to go through. This is from some 5 hours, Teo. It turned it into a work team building thing, so the company paid for the intro class. Overhead press cartel. Chase, when was the last time you did strict overhead press?
Man, that was like maybe a little bit after the meet that I did that 405 press at, or even before, I forgot. But I think my highest is like 285. That was way back in the day.
Strict overhand.
But it really wasn't strict because I had a pretty good layback. But I didn't use my hips.
Okay, this is interesting. So we're seeing a slow-mo video from Johnny G from Hard Gains. This guy, constantly hard. He sends in videos to a few different usernames. Overhead press. Yeah, my strict press has always been eerily close to my standard Olympic press. It's always been like 10, 15 pounds off. This is quite slow mode. It's interesting. This guy clearly has a lot of fluff, but he has like relatively lean legs. I do love seeing that. Rather androgenic.
He has kind of like the runner's body.
He does. Terrible. 2 out of 10. All right, this is a really good slow mo for us. Do you think this is? We're almost there.
Kind of cutting out here a little bit, or at least I am. I don't know. Either way, I personally hate slow-mo videos whenever my clientele shows them because it just kind of screws up everything. Yes, you can kind of see like the angles changing a little bit clearer and your depth and stuff, but I like seeing the actual lift in real motion because that's how my eyes developed in whenever we coach. Yeah, thanks, Dejo. I think, yeah, so Alex is a goner. Well, this is going to be just me babbling on about slow-mos then because he's running the videos. Anyways, back to what I was saying. I developed my coaching eye in real time. So seeing anything sped up, slow down, it's a little bit, it's distorted. It's weird. Another example is like you whenever you see coaches like on Instagram or videos or whatever, they're like crouched to help, or crouched down, or they're leaned over with their head kind of like this, cocked eye. It's distorting the model in their vision. So it's really hard for them to kind of actually gauge what they can see and what needs to be corrected. And this is me babbling. I feel like what's that? It's Wayne's World, where Garth is just by himself and he's just slowly falling apart. Yeah, this is me right now. So if anybody has questions in the chat, I'll enter those. All right, so Teo, if you need something to talk about, any protein intake hacks, a lot of time, a 2-scoop shake makes me feel like shit. Man, I eat a lot of my protein, a lot of that supplement stuff with like the shakes. Yeah, it's kind of good protein, but you don't want to consist mainly of the supplement protein. You want to have all your amino acid intake from meat if you can. But I like to kind of implement some maybe some egg whites into a shake. Maybe getting in some what the hell have I done in the past? I've actually done chicken shakes where I've actually boiled chicken breast. I know it sounds disgusting, but it's not. You mix it in with some whole milk and some peanut butter, and it doesn't even taste like chicken. You just kind of feel like the fibers on your tongue, and then you notice, oh well, this is not protein powder, but this is chicken breast. Teo, what do you do for your shakes? Like, how do you mix them? Like, what is the ingredients you use? Oh man, yeah. So he goes, yeah, that chicken shake is almost tuna fish protein shake level horror. I've never used tuna fish. That's pretty rough. I think Blaine Summers, he does a lot of fucking extravagant shit in his shakes. From like he's kind of a meme now, but he uses. I think he did like a Thanksgiving meal in his shake, and that's crazy. But he uses like a lot of spinach, uh, beef patties, and stuff like that. But I originally got the idea of like the protein shake with the chicken meat from Derek Poundstone when he was an old strong man, and he seemed to really got big off of those. So Teo uses milk, berries, and all kinds of stuff, but now it's just water and the protein powder. Oh, water and protein powder? Yeah, that shit's gonna taste nasty, man. You need some milk. Or I mean, if you're worried about gaining a little bit too much fat, at least like 2% or 1%, something like that. I guess Alex tried to join, but is unsuccessful. So personally, I get all my protein from my meals. I usually eat about 6 eggs on the average in my breakfast, and then whatever meat that I had from the night before. So, for example, like I usually get like a lot of ground beef, and I'll mix in some my eggs, ground beef, and then rice. Or my girlfriend kind of cooks grits sometimes, and I'll mix all that. Lunch, I'm kind of slacking because I'm coaching. We'll get Fairlife. Fairlife's have like these like 30 grams of protein shakes that they're pretty good. They taste good. All their flavors except their caramel. Their caramel tastes like ass. I'll drink those. And then at night, it's usually again some meat and then ground beef, steak. What else? Chicken breast. We use a lot of chicken breast or chicken tender. That's pretty good. Um, and that was Andre's question. PEA in the chat. What does 3 programming look like for your intermediate lifters? I kind of look at the heavy, light, medium in the book, and I kind of modify off of that. So there's a day of intensity, and it could be a set of 5, 2 triples, some singles. I kind of like to alternate that as they progress. A light day, so that's a 2x5 in the middle, or not even squatting, for example, on the squat, and we'll substitute maybe an upper body lift with that. And then the last day, we're doing some medium work or even some volume. So a 3x5 on the squat, a 4x5, just depending on how much time we got in the gym. For the pulls, for example, we're doing a heavy movement, rack pull. It could be a heavy deadlift set on that medium day, or the light day on the squat. And then the heavy day for the squat, we're doing a light pull. So all the stress is kind of equal throughout that day. Doing power cleans, lat pull downs, chins, something like that. And then on the medium day, doing haltings or even another set of 5 or even 2 sets of 5, a deadlift on that day. Teo again, I got relatively high cholesterol, so have to keep in some kind of lid on the egg intake. Gotcha. Awesome. And then Andre again, any concerns about getting a lot of protein from dairy products? Just whatever your stomach can kind of take. If you have some gastrointestinal issues about that, then you're gonna have to worry about, if you're eating a bunch of cheese or milk or something like that. And then, have you ever done deload weeks? What's up? You good,
my
Alex?
God.
What the hell happened? Oh, look, he got it
Terrible.
again.
Back on and off like 3 times.
I gave you the curse of the bad internet.
You did, man. You transferred me your internet.
I
I
did.
gave you all my bandwidth. That's what happened. Have you guys just been seeing Johnny G over here? Just in
No,
the
it's just been on me. So like what I told the chat. You remember that scene in Wayne's World where like it's just painting on Garth because like Wayne walked out?
Yeah, and it's just stuck
It's
on
just
him.
yeah, it's just me. It's just me. So I'm just like, this is not awkward. And
This is not awkward.
The chat saved me, man. They're helping me with
Oh,
some
thank you,
questions and
chat.
stuff.
You should have just done your coaching lecture, man. A little SS seminar teaser.
No.
Just talk about how to coach. Did you talk about deloads yet?
No, I haven't. So I was
Okay.
talking about that whenever you joined back in. But deloads, yes, I have programmed them, but I hardly ever. The reason why is because the vast majority of my clientele does not need a deload. I'll usually program a deload whenever there's a competition coming, whether that's a meet, a running event, something that's not gym related or just normal training related. Again, deloads kind of They help for a person who's really been hitting the weights a lot and they've accumulated a lot of stress. But again, the vast majority of people that I'm working with, that's novices, they don't need deload weeks, and then some intermediates. No.
Yeah, early intermediates you don't need a deload. Kind of like the more technical definition for deload is, your performance should increase on whatever your performance interval is for exercises. So like say you're dumbbell benching every Wednesday you should see a small increase in that dumbbell bench through reps or weight or what have you. That will increase and increase and increase as performance goes up. Whenever fatigue gets too high, you'll see that performance decrease significantly. Like you'll come in and something that's normally it will feel a lot heavier than it should be. Once it kind of inverts and then fatigue gets too high and performance starts to dip, that you need a deload. But Chase is right. A lot of people get worried at like the novice phase, or they'll get worried about it early intermediate. You really don't have to
You
if you're
don't need
managing
it.
loads super correctly. We got MJDC here. He's one of the OG. He's hitting what seems like 375 for a double. How'd you feel about this, Chase?
It's not bad. He's kind of getting his knees pulled back a little bit too much. I want his knees to be more in place so he can use his quads a little bit more. So a good cue for that is just make your shoulders come up first and open up more at the hips. So knees right where your elbows are, right? Kind of keep that relationship, that touch there as you're pushing.
Do you think he's getting on the heels a little bit, or are you fine with where he's looking balance wise?
No, I think he's getting on the heels because of how fast his knees are pulling back or
Okay.
extending.
hmm Yeah, it's almost the opposite of hitching. So like like to some
Hmm.
extent, hitching is the knees will open up and then they'll come back in. His version, like the knees are just shooting backwards and they're just staying there. Um, I think this is better than what we've seen before from MJ for sure. I remember on
Yeah,
some other
it's
deadlifts
an
of him.
easy fix.
Yeah,
It's just more concentration of again what I was cueing you about where the knees are in space as you're pushing.
I really like the one that you talked about where we're saying like think about opening this up, think about opening up at the hip, trying to get the shoulders to come up first. That's a
Hmm.
big one. Mike, if you're watching this, Mike does this with his deadlifts. Um, I've been trying to communicate that to him as well. It's good to
I was
see
actually
MJ with
looking at the homeboy in the back with the power
with the
cleans, man. Those
power
actually
cleans. Oh yeah, let's do a little power clean review. Let's see what's going on there.
wasn't bad. His butt
Also,
is a little bit low, and I saw some arm
Pete's
pull.
question: have either of you managed training through a lower back injury, disc herniation? What does a rehab protocol look like? Yeah, constant, tremendous lower back pain. What about you, Chase?
No, I haven't. And my back pain has usually been just from muscle. So I've either tweaked something with, like an overload movement, a heavy deadlift, but nothing with disc related issues or joint related issues.
Okay. Pete, a lot of time. Oh, we have another slow mo video from Johnny G. Johnny G sent in two slow mos. Maybe
There we
he's
go.
just squatting really slowly. I'm not sure. We'll find out though. But Pete, so outside of imaging, I'm kind of reticent to say that the disc itself is the insulting factor here to say like, oh, hey, like this is actually what's causing your back pain. A lot of times, lower back pain, it's not really caused by any sort of abnormality in the disc. Um, you're gonna modify everything the same way that we would do everything else. So we have
Hmm.
some pain and injury episodes and about how to choose an accessory and how to work through these things a while back. But basically, you're just looking for the most tolerable range of motion you can, and then you're looking to increase loading in that range of motion, and then eventually increase range of motion. There's not really any hyper specific rehab protocol, like something that's really non-specific, like let's say like an adductor strain or like a muscle belly tear. You can kind of think like star rehab protocol, just move it around a ton, sets at 20. Keep it really light, slowly increase load tolerance. That's really great. But if you're like, okay, I don't have some sort of like muscle belly injury, what am I dealing with here? It's going to be finding something that's tolerable. It could be a goblet squat, it could be a bodyweight squat, it could be a front squat to a box. Find something that's tolerable and then increase what you can tolerate slowly.
Yeah,
Um,
there's a guy we have in our gym, one of our early morning guys. He's had back pain for a while now. He had I think a pretty significant car crash in his early 20s. He's about 40s, little late, early 40s, mid 40s. Um, we don't know what's going on. All we're going off of was pain for a while there. He was very hesitant about going to the doctor and checking it, or his doctors earlier said that yeah, your disc is just ruptured. It's just
mhm.
bone on bone. Turns to find out that it's Not that. His disc is relatively fine. Everyone has bad disc problems as they age in life. This is normal human movement as you're aging that age. But what his is, it's actually spinal stenosis. So that's where
Really?
it's
Okay.
all the radiating pain is coming
Hmm.
down from just the closing of the spinal canal. That's an easy fix, and we're
So
hopefully
does
trying to
he
convince
have?
him.
I mean, this may be too specific, but he doesn't have like stenosis in like the where the spinal cord is. He has like foraminal stenosis on the near the
Don't know for
transverse
sure. I
processes.
just know that he came back and he probably didn't really understand what stenosis was. He just heard,
Right.
"Hey, there's this scary name, and it's called stenosis." I don't
Hmm.
know exactly where it is, but I have a feeling of maybe it's uh, again somewhere around the spinal canal. But
Yeah,
we'll
it's
see.
so hard to get a doctor who will be candid about these things, who can talk about that stuff openly and being
Mhm.
like, "This is what it is. Here's theoretically what could be causing," and a lot of times they're even reticent to do that. This is Mark. Mark sent in a video that seems like he's squatting 20 kilos. Are these two blues?
It looks like a green on the other side.
Yeah, so I think green, blue. Good loading, Mark. Don't do this ever again. It's
No,
illegal. Uh-uh. This is kind of a pretty standard seminarian
it
squat.
may be 140, like
Yeah,
130 something.
something like that. He's moving it pretty fast, but like stance is really narrow. Knees are
Hmm.
shooting too far forward. This is kind of what we would think of like almost untrained high bar. The
Yeah, it's
knees
like an
shooting up
Olympic
out of the
squat or
bottom.
something.
Yeah. You know what? Actually, I have been noticing this. I've never said it before. Other coaches have said it, and I'm like, I'm not sure how true that is. But like squats like this, where the heel comes up, it gets really loaded in the toes. I have two lifters right now who are dealing with plantar fasciitis because of this. They have like an egregious squat error. They both just started. They used to squat like this for a long time. They'll increase the loading, like, oh man, like my bottom of my foot is getting really irritated, and it's like I can imagine that, you know.
Oh yeah,
Hmm.
yeah, but
Yeah.
like
One
how to
thing.
fix this?
Yeah.
Go
Go
ahead,
ahead.
Alex.
I was gonna say, so like this would be not a total relearning, or I would say just learning how to squat again. You're squatting 140, so I'm sure you know how to squat. You're getting right at depth where where we theoretically want you to get. When is Alex gonna fix his internet? I don't know, man. This was
I
incredibly.
just gave
This
him
was
the
terrible.
curse, the
It was
bad
so
internet
traumatic.
curse.
It's so traumatic. It happened earlier today. They were doing work outside the building, and I was like, "Oh, it hasn't happened in like 3 hours. I'm gonna be fine." And then
Oh
as soon as
man.
I start the show, it just goes. Um, I think the big thing here for Mark's like head position and gaze. He's looking straight ahead. I'm really sure he's looking into a mirror. His face is pointed up. It's really hard to lean over and get into the heels when you're looking straight up. So having him look down on the ground, where we recommend about 3 or so feet in front of him, aiming his nose and his face down at that point, that would do most of the work here. I think the bar is in the right position. It could be a little bit low even. I would recommend widening the stance and sending the hips back a little bit more. There's just almost everything has to change, but just slightly. There's nothing that dramatically has to change.
Hmm.
Well, let's read Crown of Iron. Crown of Iron, he said, "Hey guys, Eternal Lava's here. Just to let you know, I'm finally moving to HLM Intermediate Training. I'll send you some more form checks soon." Do you remember Crown of Iron, Chase?
I think so. That's the
He's
dude
like a
from Australia,
middle-aged,
right?
yeah, he's like a middle-aged Australian football guy, which is not
Yeah.
rugby. He's
Huh.
the not rugby, not soccer in betweener, whatever that is.
I think so. Man, the only thing that's kind of just poking me out about this question is, so he said, "I'm finally moving into the HLM intermediate training
Hmm.
from being a novice. So hopefully you're not just like jumping ship and just going from template to template, and you're kind of making the right steps here to going from advanced novice phase into a good transition into the HLM."
Yeah, poignant point from Chase here. This is an interesting squat rack. That's a very J hook, man. When they said J hooks, they that's what they meant.
Yeah, it almost looks like the the
Uh,
Alico
uh,
um, squat racks that they have at like the Olympic
the
training
squat
centers.
stands, yeah.
Yeah, kind of looks like
Hmm.
that because it looks like almost like a dip handle is about to protrude out, but I
Yeah.
don't see it.
Okay, great. You're
Good,
covered, Chase.
good,
He said it's a gradual progression, not a template
good. I wouldn't have to sacrifice any animal now
squat. That's good
to
to hear, dude.
help deter you away from that.
I had high hopes for these squats when they started.
Now they're just high. Ooh.
Now they're just high. Yeah, I didn't have expectation of them being high. I thought these were going to be too deep, if anything. I was just looking at this guy, I'd be like, oh, he squats deep.
No.
How often do you see people who interpret depth just to be high in general, or going overly low? Is that a thing that you've been?
Very few. Like it kind of comes from like the older crowd, who actually
Okay.
are not weak and can actually hit depth. They're just like, I don't want to come into a position to where I can't come up out of the bottom and you have to help me. It's like, that's
Yeah,
so
you just
stupid.
shouldn't. Like they're just like they just don't want to do that.
And
Yeah.
then it just kind of they have to do it. They have to do that trial where they get stuck one of these days, and it's not the end of the world. They don't die while they're down there, and they
Mhm.
just help. They get help from that bottom position, and they're totally fine.
Or they die.
Well, hopefully not. But yeah, that is that few percentile.
Mhm. So this is June 000 or 001 here, squatting slightly high. Do you think much needs to change here? Outside just telling this guy to go deeper, would just telling him, yelling the word deeper at him suffice, or do you think we need to kind of mechanically change some things?
I don't like his back angle. I think he can lean over just a tiny bit more than what he's
Okay.
presenting. And then establishing maybe what's happening with the hips and knees, the joints, maybe thinking about that, making sure that they're constantly bending instead of giving your mind a barrier of, okay, this is depth, but just you're a stick figure, right, in your brain, and you're constantly moving, bending those joints, and you're going to hit depth.
Yeah, constantly bending over, like bending over for longer, moving for longer, doing the whole thing for a longer period of time. Just like keep squatting. If you can instruct the person to do this in between sets, and when they are squatting, you just tell them to keep squatting. I know a lot of times they'll figure it out. G lock. This is kind of a similar squat to what we see with you, where it's just like the head is constantly pulling back a little bit. We're seeing kind of a reorganization of the spine as opposed to a progressive lean. Squat video looks kind of choppy
Yeah,
on
it
our
is.
end. Oh God. R.I.P.
It's your internet, man.
This is terrible. This is a terrible day. It says
But, I
I'm
mean,
green, man. It says
you can kind of still see
okay.
the major issues like at the bottom, like what is his bottom position, right? And then what is his halfway point, right? Those are kind of the key things, and in our mind as coaches, we can kind of play that, and because we've seen thousands of squats, so where we know what's missing and we can kind of interpret there.
Yeah, I paused this at the bottom of squat rack, by the way. If I had to change this outside of the cues that Chase and I have just been talking about, wider stance, shove the knees out a little bit more, sit down for longer. MJ's here too. How's it going, MJ? We looked at your deadlift earlier, the 370, 375, something like that, by the way, if you want to scoot backwards on that. But thank you, June, for sending in a form check. I think his deadlift would probably be pretty good. I have high hopes for that guy's deadlift.
Yeah. You see Pete's comment? I can't click
Pete.
on them. But
Here we go. Have either of you incorporated much conjugate style programming with advanced athletes that have exhausted HLM, similar to Baker's methods? Chase.
Me personally, no, because a lot of my clients just no. But me, with my programming, no. I've been successful with running just out, basically cycling through various intensities and volumes. But doing exercise selection, I probably need a little bit more equipment to incorporate the stuff that maybe Baker's doing.
Clean deadlift. Oh, this is a single. Okay. All right, cool. How heavy do you think this is, Chase? I'm not sure if this is like 3 plates and then some change, or if it's 2 and then some change.
Yeah, I don't know. It looks like maybe 220, maybe 310, 300, somewhere around there. If that's like a 25. Actually, I lied. That's not that many. But it may be like 200. I don't know.
Okay. Yeah, I think it's a little bit over 3. 300 pounds. I believe this is only 245 0 that we're seeing. All right. We'll go over Curtis's. This is Curtis L 75, his deadlift, and then we'll talk more about Pete's question, because I use a little bit more of that like tighter periodization rather than super extended. It's almost like daily undulating periodization. So this deadlift is an interesting one. I have a lot of problems with it, particularly the top. It's like he never really finishes at the bottom. Of course, we can see like the hips are too low. He's pushing the bar forward a little bit, things like that. But this top position, I really dislike when I see this. Do you see what I'm talking about here, Chase?
Yeah, I thought it was just like the video just like cut out, but yeah, I thought I thought he was going to stand up more than what he was, but I guess not.
Yeah, it's kind of like this partial stand up where the knees will be locked, the back never gets fully extended. And I'll notice a lot of times people will pretty typically take a breath out at the top, making it even more uncomfortable. Yeah. What's your kind of go-to for fixing things like this, Chase?
Hopefully, if I see this guy warming up, he's going to do this as the warm-ups are getting heavier. So we can nip it into the butt before we get into the work set, but making him pause and realizing that he can't hold that position forever. At the top, you are in the correct hip extension, knee extension, your chest is out. You can hold on to that weight all day, whether it be a warm-up or, I granted that is a hyperbole, but you can hold on to a heavy-ass load if everything is extended for longer than you think.
For a while. I mean, you look at strongmen deadlifters and powerlifters, they'll hang out at the top.
Talk. Yeah,
they'll shake their heads a little bit. They'll be like, hell yeah, bro.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But it's just kind of, yeah.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
So like the example that Chase and I just brought up about you'll look and you can see like Eddie saying at the top of the really heavy deadlift, being like, yeah, this is fine. I can answer a question here from the sports reporter. If you are stacked correctly, kind of like locking your elbows out in the bench, it's just the same thing. You're locking your knees out, locking your hips out. You should be able to stand there for a significant period. You can't stand there, not from your grip strength, but from the rest. If you feel like your back or your legs are failing, you're not fully locked out. If it feels like your grip is failing, that's another issue. Change off the floor. It's just kind of like hips are low. He's a little bit forward. Anything else you want to change off the floor?
I think his placement, making sure that his shins are 1 inch away from the bar. From right here at this angle, it looks like the bar is about 2 inches forward of the midfoot, maybe an inch. Getting that placement down is going to help you a lot. So putting the knot of the shoelace, like where your sock line ends, if you're wearing anklet socks, just kind of like where that is, putting that area underneath the bar and making sure that is the consistent setup, rep after rep, warm up after warm up, and this is going to help you not drop your ass, making sure that your knees are where they need to be and you can effectively push off the floor.
Yeah, so I'm going to try to pause it where he thinks his hips should go. So he pops his hips down here. Okay, so everybody remember this relative back angle, and then we'll see where his hips end up whenever the bar actually starts moving. We'll go back just a bit. When the bar actually starts moving, look at how much more bent over he is.
Yep.
The bar is still physically contacting the floor, right? So this is what we're talking about, basically. It's like he has his weight is forward of his midfoot, his head is too far past, his shoulders are too far past, but the back angle it gets where it needs to go no matter what. You don't really have the choice of where to put your back angle if the bar is heavy enough. So we want him to have this back angle in the first place and then get it more backwards towards the midfoot like Chase was talking about. Any other parting shots for Curtis here?
No, just the big thing is get uncomfortable. So you're going to start with that uncomfortable feeling on the setup, and then it ends up being comfortable. So you're doing the opposite, where you're getting comfortable at the start and then being uncomfortable at the end.
Yeah, try and flip that, man. Try and flip that. So this is okay. So his name is Dr. Drew Brew. His name is Drew Brew or Dr. Ubrew. I'm not sure what his name is here. He's either a doctor.
I'm just gonna call him Doc, man.
Okay,
he looks like a doctor.
Does he look like a doctor? Yeah, he's not that muscular. That's probably why.
Look, well, no, not because of that. Just because of his skin tone, his melanin content. because he is indoors all the time. He has a coat on, so his skin is not exposed to
Okay.
the elements. And fuck, look at him. He has no shoes.
Oh my god. This is an interesting. Whenever we're like, we need you to feel weight on your toes, you're getting 2 on your heels. Normally, you can't see the lifter not have their toes on the ground. Whereas this
No.
gentleman, you can just see the whole thing. All right, we'll wash this out. I'll talk a little bit about Pete. Yeah, so Pete talking about advanced conjugate style program with advanced athletes that have exhausted HLM. Gotta hide this comment again so we can see Drew. Yeah, so I've used it a good bit really as a means to modulate fatigue for my athletes who are doing sport practices. So like let's say if they have like a backloaded practice week where they have like a Thursday, Friday, Saturday practice split, you can do your dynamic effort work in there. You can do like speed work or hypertrophy work, things that are more like fast power based during those portions of the week. Whereas if they have more time for recovery, you can use that to exhaust heavier options. I think it's more like managing bar speeds across the week and then keeping it in more of a desirable range where you want it to be, as opposed to being super slow all the time or super fast all the time. One thing I kind of think about a lot of the conjugate style, it basically just ends up being like variations of different amount of heavy and light across the week. Like the structure isn't terribly different, but you're just adding in different qualifiers to the lifts themselves. It's weird. I think I think it's not like unless it's a clear daily undulation model. It's very hard to find what like conjugate style is, unless you're Louis Simmons. Rip in peace.
Mhm.
So.
Yeah.
How do you feel about these deadlifts, Chase?
This is kind of like that old adage of like, hey, you gotta squat this thing up.
Mm-hmm.
This is definitely not anywhere near the correct setup than what we're kind of used to. Um, One, it seems like his toe angle rather, is just straight ahead, and his heels are maybe underneath his hips, but I want to see a little bit more toe angle. I want to see his ass way higher than what it needs to be, and then similar to what we were telling that dude previous. What was this dude? What was that last dude's name?
Drew? No, this is Drew.
Yeah, this is
Kirsten,
the
I think.
doc dude. Yeah, whatever the hell that dude's name was.
Curtis.
Curtis. Yes,
Yeah.
Curtis. Um, Curtis was getting very comfortable in the setup. You are too. It does not need to be comfortable. Your ass needs to be way higher. And we can tell that your ass needs to be higher because look, you're way on the heels. Your toes are literally like it's almost like
Hovering off the ground.
it's almost as like
Like,
he's playing like he's like, tapping along to a beat, like he's lifting up his toes
yeah.
to tap along. Yeah, that's bad.
Mm-hmm.
And
Like it's interesting. I'm not sure if you guys can see this because apparently my internet connection is pretty third world right now. But like his triceps and lats, they're actually like shaking. He's pulling the bar into him so much that like his triceps are actually kind of wobbling.
oh wow, I can't tell that.
This is someone who has like a very clear mental model for a deadlift, but it is just wrong. It's just
Mhm.
not what it should be at all. Like
Yeah.
what I would say is like go in your yard and pick up a rock and then be like, oh, okay, that wasn't as traumatic or as brain draining as this was. Because it's like no one picks anything up this way. This is incredibly
Yeah.
inorganic. Like you're on your heels, you're really focused on back extension, like you're dragging it physically up your leg, like it's scraping your leg the whole way. You know, it's you really got to get on your toes, keep your face down, take a big breath in, man. There's a lot needs to change here. I would frankly just say follow the 5-step deadlift setup, your hips high. I would build this from ground zero. I think
Yeah.
don't take
Yeah.
breaks in the middle of the set. I thought the set was done here when he just gets away, but he comes back for the last rep. Like dig your toes, hips up, pull the bar up. Do you ever see this in person? Way I've never seen someone do this in person, but I've seen it online.
What, like get so far back with their ass?
So far back
With
that
their
like
foot down?
toes off the ground, weird balance in the heels.
I think I've seen it. Like there's, again, like this guy is probably thinking to himself, like, man, this is like way harder than it needs to be. And then luckily he
Mhm.
lives by a starting strength gym and he comes in and then some dude's like, hey, my deadlift feels off. And then the coach there is like, yeah, let's see your deadlift. This is an open house. Let's see it. And then that coach is like, dude, This thing it's fucked up. It is fucked up.
Yeah.
And
It's
then
like, don't make it
I've
hard
seen it.
on
That's
purpose.
kind of been me. Yeah, exactly.
It's like someone's trying to make if you were trying to make the deadlift as hard as possible on purpose, this is what it would be like.
Yeah, I
This
feel
is
like
all
this is like
interesting plates. Do you see these plates, Chase?
blue. Kind
They're
of
like blue, but they have
radiation.
these weird kind of pizza slices in them. It's gonna take them 3 seconds to pick the bar up again. Can you see those?
Oh yeah, I see it. Oh, that is
It's
weird.
This is just 135 too. It should not be that big of a stroke.
That's
135.
crazy. Yeah, I feel like this is
This
like
crazy.
Joel Seaman taught you how to deadlift without doing.
That's the perfect analogy.
Joel
Yes.
Seaman taught you how to
University,
Yep.
or Joel Seedman taught you how to deadlift.
Yep.
Yeah, we'll finish Drew on there. I think we have a fellow of very pasta-like descent here. This is Matthew Materazzi coming
You
in.
said pasta-like descent?
Yes, yeah. He seems very Italian. His last name is Materazzi, dude.
Oh, descent. Okay, I thought you were talking about his squat. I was like, dude, his back must be fucked up.
If he's having a like descent.
I feel like, man, we're gonna see some craziness.
If you do have to wear a mask, though, I think this is the preferred method. Is American flag? Is it
the gator?
The gator.
You good, Alex? It fucked up again. Awesome. Well, Pete submitted a question. What do you guys use for older folks squatting with limited shoulder flexibility, impacting the grip? Safety squat bar, straps on the standard barbell, Duffalo, or a Buffalo bar? Recently, we had a lady come in, and older lady, just terrible shoulder flexibility, could not get the bar into a favorable position. She could do a high bar squat, but she's so frail, so petite that the bar was just kind of mashing and just kind of aggravating her. So we had cuts of, it was links of toe straps that we cut, and we were able to use that, and the bar was actually sitting comfortably down on her back, and that helped her a lot. Helped her a lot out. We used a bar that had straps, or not straps, but handles already welded on the bar. And that bar ended up being like 65, 75 pounds. And the way that you had to take it out of the rack is that you couldn't sit on the normal pins. We actually had to take the safety bars out and angle them down to where it could fit in comfortably. And the way that everything was oriented, that we actually had to push up the handles and stuff like that. Dude, what's up with your internet? It's fucked up. But anyways, continuing with Pete's question, yes, we have, and there's various different cool technology out there that can help lifters with fucked up shoulders to squat. But those are the things that we've kind of came across.
You're talking about old people and their shoulders?
Yep.
Yeah. They should just not have arms. Get rid of their arms immediately. All right. So Matthew's mask fell down over his nose when he was squatting. So now everybody in the gym has COVID.
Oh shit! Hold on. Guess what? Do you see like those like bullseye marks? He's probably squatting right now. Well, no, this is my theory. So he's probably squatting, and then as his mask is falling, there is a loaded gun being trained on him.
That's what it is.
That is it. So
it's the threat.
Yep. So you can tell as soon as his mask fell off, his eye gaze changed, and he's like thinking to him. Yep, right there. He's thinking to himself. He's like, "Oh fuck, This bullet is gonna hurt. This bullet will hurt."
It's some of the military installations, some of the gyms where I will work out at, some of the Navy gyms, they had the policy where if you were doing a set, you did not have to have your mask on. But if you were not doing a set, you had to have your mask on. So there would be some guys who would just grab like a 2.5 pound dumbbell and then just sit there and just fucking just wrist curl.
That is
in between
awesome.
Sets. Just be like, yeah, man, I'm doing something, okay?
Calm down. Is awesome.
Calm down. Awesome. That was a crazy month whenever that was happening. That was a pretty crazy month. Is there a lot to fix on Matthew's squat?
I wouldn't say a lot. He's just kind of getting forward. He's going to develop some bad knee slide there. Learning that he has to freeze his knees and that he has to bounce off his hips are going to be the big thing. So,
Mhm.
um, granted, I probably wouldn't even cue you to bounce if you were in front of me lifting, making sure that you're just constantly loading the hips more than
Yeah.
you think at the bottom is going to be the big thing.
Yeah, he'll figure out the bounce. Like, you're a young athletic guy, you'll figure it out.
Yeah.
But you first need to figure out how to move the bar with your hips, not your knees.
Yeah.
If you're in person with someone, you can just kind of grab their hip pointers from behind and just pull them backwards as they're starting the squat. They'll send their weight back on their heels. It gets a lot easier in person. I think using a tubo possibly to figure out how to hold the knees back would be really helpful for you, Matthew. But overall, I think this. I don't know if I would even take weight off the bar while he's doing this. This is 225, 35, 40. This is like 240, 245 or so. In that case, I would probably just keep adding 5 pounds a session or 5 pounds a week, whatever you're doing. But just start with your warm ups and all of your working sets, being really attentive about where your hips are going.
Mhm.
Really attentive about it. We do have some. This is a really good question. What's the relative fatigue for 2.5 pound wrist curls? Working it into my regimen. Chase, do you ever do wrist curls?
No.
No, I've actually started doing them recently.
Why?
So
For your grip and stuff?
for typing, sometimes when I go to, oh man, my fingers are cold. I'm like, oh,
Oh, okay.
I'll just
Gotcha.
I'll get some wrist curls going on, man. I do like the wrist curl. It's a fun movement. Have you? Oh, here we go. We have an actual question here. In the bench variant, once per week pressing doesn't seem to be enough volume to drive for continuous improvement. So Crown of Iron is talking about HLM and how pressing frequency is too low for progress. What do you think, Chase?
It depends, man. If your HLM is more oriented to like a squat variation, to where like your squat is doing a heavy day, and then the light day may not be a squat, um, or just don't have a squat. Um, um, what is the right word?
Doesn't have a squat accessory.
Anyways, no, not a squat accessory, but slot. I'm a dumbass. A
Slot.
slot
Okay.
in the program, right? And then in the medium day may be what else? I talked about this earlier, but again, it may be a little bit of some volume. Anyways, the press can then not really fit into that heavy light medium template, but it has that template of they're doing something heavy, right? It may be another heavy session, or it may be some sort of exercise selection to where they're doing something different on that light squat day squat, and then doing again some sort of medium day movement there. But usually, the upper body doesn't really do well with a heavy light medium. To be honest, there,
So
unless it's real heavy.
frankly, I think it's like, so you're saying it's not enough pressing or not enough volume to drive improvement. Just put in more volume whenever you are pressing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, my medium day for some of my guys doing ALM for their bench can literally be 9 triples, like a 9x3, and they're walking those triples down the entire time. And it's like, hey, you know what you can do in between your benching rest? You can go do an RDL. You can go do some chin-ups. You can go do some other stuff. If you're doing a light squat in the middle, let's say you're doing front squats at 225. Take a plate off. You can do your pressing 135 in between those sets. You know what I mean? Like,
Mhm.
there's space for you to fit it in. If you are putting arbitrary caps on the volume that you're getting per day, you're like, oh, well, I can't do more than 5 sets. I can't do more than 3 sets. I think that's the primary mistake you're making. For heavy, light, medium, typically it'll be, if I have to structure it, it'll be like, let's say for heavy day, it'll be like a top, let's say a 3x3 on bench, then benching back off. So that could be close grip, that could be pin bench, something like that, or just more straight benching volume. The light day, that's going to be almost all overhead. And the medium day, that will be more overhead with another bench accessory. So it could be board press, it could be slingshot bench, could be weighted deficit push-ups, and then also, or it could be dips, and then also your pressing movement. So like the heavy, light, medium, it's how you're waiving the stress. So it's like, I have a big
Mhm.
dose of stress, I have little stress, then I have a medium amount of stress. It has nothing to do with it's related, but it's not a direct correlate for weight on the bar and how many sets you're doing. You know, so it's like your medium day could have more sets than your heavy day, But let's say for your bench, for example, your wrists get really upset when you bench over 275. So it's like you're doing 3 sets over 275 and that's it. That could be your heavy day, you know. Whereas medium day could be, you know, way more work, but it's just not as stressful. So like HLM, it's just a 3-day template for how to waive stress. You know, it's not really anything super specific. Chase, we got to talk about number 4. It was in the tagline for the show: adding in fun items and movements to your lift. When that's said, what comes to your mind whenever people think about that?
Adding fun items / movements.
Yeah,
it's doing some bro shit, man. It's definitely doing like some curls, doing some sexy, sleek shit that you want to do.
You've
that
seen on
is
Instagram.
Always, exactly. It's always present in some sort of social media presence.
Yeah. To have people who come to you and ask you, or have historically, be like, hey, I saw this thing online, I would try. Or like, you know what, I feel like I maybe need to add some stuff to my program. How often does that happen for you?
Yeah, I've had a few. But then I kind of crush their hopes. I'm like, okay, so where did you hear this from? And they go, well, there's this dude that I follow, and man, he just looks jacked. I'm like, okay. So how long has he been lifting? Well, he said he's been lifting a long time. I'm like, oh, cool. So what does he do for his movements? He's like, well, you know, he's doing like, you know, well, he starts out maybe doing like something real heavy, like a leg press or something like that. And then he just goes into doing like a 3-hour workout. I'm like, hold on, a 3-hour workout? How long do I have with you? Oh, 90 minutes. Dude, we can't do that shit. I'm sorry. And, you know, we got to do the big shit first. And then as you progress, yeah, sure, we may add some cool stuff in there, right? We may add some like power cleans. We may add some barbell rows. We may add some curls, you know. But a lot of it's fluff, man. It's just shit that just it gets like the caveman or like the reptilian mind of yours to be like, oh, yeah, just kind of like, oh, that's cool.
Yeah. You know? It's something flashy. One of the recent ones that I've had 2 people talk to me about, it's this knees over toes guy. He's kind of making my life hell. He'll have people who just have like naturally long Achilles tendons being like, look at how deep of a lunge I can get into. And then you'll have some guy who just like doesn't, his Achilles tendons just aren't that long. And he'll be like, I can't lunge like that. There's something wrong with me. A large portion of the fitness industry is saying that there's something wrong with you. This is how you correct it. I think a lot of the fun stuff that people try to add in ends up trying to be that. Like, I feel like I need to work on this muscular imbalance or this mobility deficit or something like that. But with the fun stuff, I think Teo was talking about this earlier, like curls and things like that. Basically, the shortest version is increase your conditioning in a way where you know you can add it and it won't interfere with the main lifts. You know, so like if you want to add in some prowler work, but you're so fat and out of shape that you'll be tanked on squats for 5 days afterwards, you should add it, but very slowly instead. You know, you can't just go 60. Like you need to figure out what your budget is and then where you can add those things in. So it's like, sure, if you want to start on the weekend, that's totally fine. That's a perfectly fun, normal, healthy thing for you to do. But we need to figure out how that works in with your budget. You know, so that may mean lighter squats on Friday, and that may mean a little preparatory run.
No, he did it again. Shit. Well, anyways, what Alex was saying was basically, yeah, you're gonna have to figure out what maybe works for you afterwards, after you've done the big stuff, right? And that's kind of what he was kind of. And again, Alex was saying that he had his own train of thought, so I don't know what Alex was saying to his extent, but cool dude, 70 -1. If SS coaches only had 90 minutes with each client at some point in the lifters advancement, do they just need to start training on their own? As an intermediate lifter, some of my workouts take longer. The Matrix killed Alex. Well, that is true. But no, it's just how we're programming, right? How we modify that program to where maybe that lifter, I've had several lifters actually who come to me and they have maybe already a home setup at their gym or at their house, right? To where, what were you saying? Do you need to complete what you were saying? Do you remember?
I'm saying is that I'm going to make a Molotov cocktail and throw it at the Cox truck outside of my house. There's the guy in the cherry picker up top, and I'm just gonna beam him in the head. Is what the plan is currently.
What if he actually is listening to the stream and he's just like tweaking like a wire
That's what it
as
could
a
be. As soon as he's like, "Oh, Alex started talking,"
yeah,
we're
fuck
just gonna
Alex.
cut that shit out immediately.
Yeah.
God, did you picked up for me, Chase? You talked about adding in these fun things for people.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah,
And
everybody. It's almost 100% of people. I think it's pretty rare for someone who just wants to only lift and then that's it. That's probably a bias in my coaching and a bias in the people I meet, but I think that everybody wants to do other stuff to some extent, not
yeah.
just squat, bench, deadlift. So when you do add it, like figuring out how to add it in a way that won't disrupt your primary work. Do you have anybody in the gym who is trying to do stuff like that currently in OKC? Who like wants to go on some runs, wants to go do some
Mm,
curls, things like that?
no, not really, but we did have we picked up a dude who actually previous he came into the gym with, I think, what was he doing? A bunch of like Olympic stuff.
Hmm.
So his routines were, we got to stretch a long time. We got to make sure that there's no muscle imbalances, and then we're good to go into the workout. I'm like, dude, that just doesn't make sense. And then he he understands the importance of squats, deadlifts, and all the big movements, right? But I remember he asked me the other day, he's like, "What if you get a lifter who has an imbalance?" I'm like, "Okay, well, what do you mean by that?" And he goes, "Well, he has a big leg imbalance." I'm like, "Well, usually we start out with a weight that there's no real big hit shift, and then I just correct it from there. Like I say, hey, you're shifting, so think about this right side." He goes, "Oh, okay. So you don't actually do like any like single leg
Corrective work.
squats?" I'm like, "No, no, no, we don't need to."
Mm-mm. Yeah, it's a different task. It's just like
Yeah.
I think the capacity outside of like a surgery such you're recovering from leg surgery that like unilateral work has. I had no idea. That's surprising information. Did you see this, Chase?
Yeah, really. I
That's
didn't know that
super
either.
cool. We should be Scientologists.
Yeah.
That would be quite the secret club to be in. That would be great. It would be like you have your SSC, the next step, Scientology certification.
Some major cult. Yeah, you got to join a major cult.
Yeah, it would be nice though if we had all the Scientologists getting super jacked. We were like the staff trainers for Scientology Church.
Who dude, the only cool people that we would talk to is like Tom Cruise,
Tom Cruise. That's all I
John
need.
Travolta.
John Travolta's a Scientology?
Oh, he's big time. Big time.
I may be out then. I don't know.
And
He's
then
gotten pretty crazy
who
recently.
the fuck else? Oh, who's that one chick? Well, no, she's not. She's not anymore. But she was do you remember that Kevin
Hillary Clinton.
no. Um the Kevin
Kevin.
James. It was the Kevin James it was like King of Queens or some shit like that.
Oh,
You
that
remember
old
that?
sitcom with the fat guy?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So
Yeah.
his wife on that actor, she was heavily into it. She actually was born into it. Her mom was big into it, but she's now out of it.
Now she has superpowers and can fly. So
Exactly.
exactly, because that's what you get from being Scientologist. Um, but yeah, so adding in fun stuff. I think it will happen at some point no matter what. I think like Chase and I were more than content just doing the primary lifts. You go in, you have fun doing them, you hang them out, you're done.
Yeah.
There's so many things you can do with a barbell. But like if you want to add the rest, it's basically just kind of a budget calculation. If you're having a hard time managing fatigue, like you got to be really sharp on your programming, especially when you're adding in more things. Like the conditioning that is the most similar to your barbell movements. Let's say if you're doing like a yoke carry, or you're doing a stone to chest, you're doing a stone over bar, things like that. You'll have a easier time adding them in than you think, because it's just kind of more deadlift. It's kind of a more of a squat. But the farther you get away from that, things like running or cycling or swimming, those are the things you'll have to be. You'll be surprised about how out of shape you are with a lot of that stuff. You'll be like, oh man, oh here we go. Jay Wright.
Yeah.
Leah Remini.
Yep.
Leah Remini. Do you know Rip's conditioning workout? He's talked about it a few times, right? You've seen that before, Chase.
I've seen him. So he's done. Actually, and this was funny. When did I come into town? So for that February seminar, right?
Mm-hmm.
I came into town.
Thursday?
No, because there was already snow on the ground. This wasn't whenever there was snow. Anyways, I came into town during a seminar. This was like Thursday or Friday, and he's out and on the back track. You remember that you seen the back track?
Yeah. I
Yeah,
like
so
that
he's
area. That's super cute. It's nice. There's a
it's awesome. Yeah.
little
So he's on he's on that back track. He's on that back. It's like how long is it? It's like maybe a 50-yard
Yeah, I'd
little
say about
piece
50
of
yards. It's about
it's
almost the length of the building.
yeah, it's a 50-yard piece of just track, and he's
Mm-hmm.
running down the track, and then he also has a little um, pull-up
Pull-up
bar.
bar? Yeah.
Yep, and he's doing pull-ups on that too,
Mm-hmm.
and he does a bunch of prowler work too, and he's heavily um, committed into doing conditioning as you get older because
Yeah.
he thinks a bunch of the older population does kind of need to do it, but at the same time they also more importantly need to be doing strength training.
He has like 2 sessions a week, I believe. And one of them is
Yeah,
like lifting,
exactly.
probably squat, bench, deadlift pattern, and then that conditioning pattern. I think like
Yep,
bare minimum, that's what
exactly.
you're looking at. Um,
Yep.
yeah, conditioning work like that's great. Like even like I think people underestimate like a simple superset of like literally, like go run a distance, go do a bunch of pull-ups, like
Hmm.
go run a distance, do a bunch of push-ups, things like that. You can go really far. Um, can you verify this? You saw him. Rip is looking less pink recently. Can you confirm?
A little bit, just a tiny
A little
bit.
bit. Yeah. He's I think they may. Hi, Alex. Who's the? Oh, Phoebe's here. I don't know who the hell this guy is, Phoebe.
Who's
You
Phobius?
Phoebe, Phoebe
Phoebe
H.
H? Huh.
Phoebe, why did you delay your seminar until June? Chase, give me the unfiltered, objective opinion. That what happened?
I don't know, man.
I was so excited. I was expecting this week on Monday to be like, "That's it." They did her board exam that night. She's officially the best SSC in the whole world.
No, so with Phoebe, like she's also working with the SS Gym stuff, right? And
Mm-hmm.
so she's very committed into doing she's very committed into doing both, right? So she's very committed into doing her morning classes and making sure that there's a bunch of SS Gym stuff.
Mm-hmm.
She didn't really skew what was important at that time. And that's
Is she doing like social media for the SS gyms?
no, just
What do
for
you
our
mean?
gym.
Oh,
No,
for
no.
your gym, for the
She's running
Oklahoma gym.
so the build out team, she's part of like, okay, so let's say the Columbus gym as they're
Mm-hmm.
working out. So she's making sure that like the starting strength gym equipment is being going to be handled and
That sounds like a real
delivered at this
job.
date. Yeah, I know.
No.
Yeah, I know. It's going to be delivered at this date, making sure that it's
uh,
going to be delivered, within this time slot, and then making sure that,
oh God,
um,
Phoebe, that's
yeah,
terrible. That sounds like an
it's
actual job.
it's pretty crazy.
That's insane.
Crazy.
That's way more difficult than starting strength coaching. Oh my God. Okay, yeah. Don't do the SSC, Phoebe. It'll be too stressful, too much. Your head's gonna explode.
Nah,
Chase, any parting shots for the people?
um,
What's going on your Instagram recently? Anything going on there?
fuck no, there
Chase.
haven't. No, man. So I forgot to tell you, man. So while I was there at the gym, that Friday for the seminar, I was like, man, I'm feeling good. Let's just pull something.
Mm-hmm.
I recently had Josh. Uh, I recently had Josh Wells actually program me something, and on my Friday program, it looks like, hey, we're doing 3 heavy singles on a clean and jerk. We're doing a heavy 1 set of 5 on jerk overloads, and then doing a rack pull or a halting, just depending on whatever week it is, right?
Yeah.
I'm like, man, okay. Let's deadlift. Fuck that. Let's just
Okay.
deadlift,
Yeah.
right? So I try to do a deadlift 1 by 1, a heavy single. I tried doing 725 off the floor. It got off to about my knees. I'm like, fuck, I'm almost there. I can feel it. Started riding the jackhammer and I just couldn't complete it, right? I think,
Then you just told everybody it was a halting on
yeah,
purpose. You
exactly.
were like, "Yeah, that
Yeah,
was a halting
it was
single."
just a Max Everett halting.
Uh-huh.
Yep.
Yep. Put that on the PR board, halting.
But man, I think I got a little bit overtrained. I beat myself into a hole a little bit there. So this past Thursday and Friday, I didn't even fucking lift, man. I hit like maybe one or two things, and I was like, man, I feel like death. And
Mhm. Got the
that was
fatigue
it.
flu, man.
Yep, I got the fatigue flu.
Expect another one in 8 to 12 weeks, depending on how you manage your volume.
Hopefully not. But yeah.
Man. Okay. So you can find Chase at Chase Lindley, and then his
Mhm.
backup account at Chase_Lindley. Chase has somewhat of an account at the new Starting Strength Coaches directory. I looked at your account. You have one review, by the way, Chase.
Oh, really? I
Did you
gotta go
see?
look on it.
Yeah,
Uh-uh.
it's some guy named Grant.
Grant.
Grant. It's
Hmm.
Grant B something. But he's like, yeah, I worked with Chase. He's really cute. I like him a lot. Something like that. It's a good review. But yeah, I'm gonna be updating my link soon. We both do online coaching. I think. What do you want to do next for next episode, Chase?
I don't know, man. I'm just here to, as your wingman. I'm just
Mhm.
here to.
Dude, you're keeping the show running now. You're the lead of the Church of Scientology at this point, dude.
Exactly.
And if you want, we finished like half the backlog that we got from the past like
Yeah,
2 weeks.
because of all the
So
fucking internet dropout stuff.
I know we got through a good bit. We got through like 9 form checks, I think, man. Yeah, if you want to get videos on the show for next time, you can email those in the support@strength.club. And thanks everybody for watching. Oh yeah, what about tease future guests? Here are some potential options. Plastic surgeon. I have a few guys in like nuclear science and physicists. I have a few engineers.
Dude, you have
Um,
way fucking cooler clients. What the hell?
uh-huh. I'm trying. I want to see if I can get this gentleman on G Lock on. G Lock has a very cool job that I may not be able to tell you about, but he works for the government. He kills people for the government.
Dude, that's
Um,
so fucking cool.
isn't it cool? Yeah, that's pretty sick. But yeah, we're gonna continue the cool guy interview series. Chase, you got to ask your clients, see if anybody wants to come on.
All right.
Okay, but yeah, we'll get those emails up. We'll get that list going. See who wants to come on. But all right, see everybody.